bei Guild Wars 2 und haben hier eine Menge Fragen mit einem englischen Kollegen. So, und genau, direkt los. So, shall I start or want you? Okay. I just need quick my question.
No problem.
And the first question I have is about the public quest, or not the public quest, but the dynamic events.
The dynamic event system.
What I wondered myself is how will it work out if I have a group with players and we are on different levels of dynamic events? How would that work out? What will each other of us see?
We actually, well, you all see the same thing. If you're in the same area, if you're basically all adventuring the same area, what we have is a side-kicking system where you would be able to go down to the level of the area that you're in. So if you're a high-level character who suddenly walks through Queensdale, you're not going to be bumping things off right, left, and center and spoiling events. Your own level will be side-kicked. You'll still be very powerful. You'll have all the abilities that you had before, but you'll be operating at that lower level for your surroundings. So if you've got a mixed level of a mixed group level, you can all adventure in the same areas without someone being too far behind, somebody being too far ahead.
So I basically can repeat those dynamic events if they already had taken place, or
you can take the dynamic event system. What it does is chains of events that basically fit together. So it's not just one group of mobs that's basically hanging outside the castle door. It's a series of events, each one of which feeds off the others. So the centaurs are attacking the garrison. Now, for most MMOs, this would be there are a bunch of centaurs out there, out in front of the garrison, and you get to go out and kill a bunch of them and bring back their ears or something. For us, the centaurs are attacking the garrison. The centaurs could take over the garrison. If the centaurs take over the garrison, we have a new event. Take the garrison back. You take the garrison back, we have a new event. It's called Fix the Garrison. Okay, you defeat the centaurs. That kicks off a new event. There's an armory on the other side of the battlefield that we can go and rescue. You basically go and recover the lost supplies at the armory, and you bring them back, and suddenly there's new magical items that are available for characters to buy. So actions have consequences. So it's a case where when you have a dynamic event system, you can have things happen in waves and in time, but it's not always the same thing. And depending upon when you walk up to it, you don't join the event, you don't click a character with a bang over his head. You enter into the area and it says, hey, they're having problems with bandits here, and it's up to you whether you want to join them or not. And the what's really cool is if there is one of you, it's soloable. If there are 10 of you, we scale the event accordingly, either by a larger number of attackers for low-level attackers like bandits, or they're tougher, or they have new abilities over and above to keep it at the same challenge level for everybody involved.
So you check the area about how many players are there, and then,
right?
Okay.
How many players are there, and how many players are participating as well? So you're basically just hanging out there. You're not going to get any reward for just being there. Yeah. We set different levels for our reward system so that if you're in there fighting and helping out, you'll get a gold reward at a higher level. And if you hit a couple guys on your way through, you might get a bronze award. You might get something that just says, "Yeah, you were there. Thank you for playing."
I read about that too. It's somewhere you wrote that. Everybody is going to get loot and stuff accordingly. How are you going to balance that?
Basically the loot is basically just given to you directly, as opposed to you have the box and then you have to decide who gets the blue item, etc. So it basically is balanced according to participation.
Okay, so if you're a healer and you were active all the time, and
you're active all the time. You get, if you're contributing to the end result, you get rewarded. We don't have dedicated healer class in the game, for example. We get away from that. We don't want to say you must be the healer, you must be the tank. In other words, but what we do is all characters have the potential for healing. So if your playing style is healer, you basically can do things that are to your advantage.
How you're planning to guide the you don't really have quests in Guild Wars 2,
right?
How are you planning to guide the players throughout the world? how are you supposed to know where you have to go?
First off, it's an open sandbox, so you're going in different directions, but you also have your personal story. And your personal story is based on choices you've made at the very beginning with character generation as you go through, and additional choices you make, and that takes you to different locations within the game itself. So as you go, as your story becomes more complex, you're naturally directed toward the higher levels.
I've got a bit more of a general question.
Sure.
Because obviously when we look at the MMO space, everyone thinks of World of Warcraft. But everyone then thinks of Guild Wars. You know, they seem to be the two that people sort of come across most of all. How do you kind of, obviously, with World of Warcraft's popularity and Guild Wars' increasing popularity, how do you intend to kind of, you know, with the sequel, kind of ramp that up to try and compete with World of Warcraft, or is it for you not an issue at all?
We aren't really I don't feel like we're building an MMO. Yeah. We're building a good game. And when a lot of the MMOs that we have seen have been, ooh, there's the #1 MMO. How can we be more like that? We're actually looking at, we want to build a good PC game across the board. And the result of this is we are picking up a lot. We've been examining a lot of mechanics. We look at how a lot of different game systems pick and choose, and how they resolve our downed mechanic, for example, comes more from that action shooter than from any MMO you've ever seen. And the idea is to choose the best mechanics and develop and innovate with them to bring them into the MMO space. RPGs have a style of storytelling that you don't see in an MMO. And we're trying to bring the RPG back into the MMORPG, and that's where the story of you, the personal story, comes from.
Yeah. I mean, it almost sounds like you're trying to make it a lot more accessible and a lot more sort of branches. Does that mean,
right?
Obviously it's difficult to do. Does that mean you have any sort of plans to maybe move it onto a console or try and expand it? Because obviously a game like World of Warcraft is difficult, but this one sounds so much more accessible and dynamic that it may work.
Our current goal is to be as accessible as we can within the PC space, and you know, consoles are always under consideration, but we just don't have anything to say about that at the present time. So yeah, but the idea is that with the idea is to appeal to, we've got a diverse audience that we are looking at. We have people who've been playing Guild Wars for 5 years now. It's an incredibly successful game. 6.5 million copies sold, half of those in Europe. We've got a very strong German base. This is one group of players who just know everything about our world. And we have people who are intrigued and want to know it, but they don't play MMOs because they're grindy, and they're you know, you have to group, or you know, you can't solo, you can't be. So we're looking at bringing those people in as well. People who play games is our ultimate target market, but we recognize that everyone plays games differently.